Your first cup of coffee is the most important decision of your day. Most people make it wrong. This isn't about the beans you use or the milk you add. It's about a single hormone and when you choose to fight it. On one side, you have a growing movement of elite performers who treat their first 90 minutes awake like a sacred ritual, timing their caffeine intake with obsessive precision. On the other, you have smart, successful people who argue this is a dangerous path toward neuroticism, a life spent optimizing the engine instead of driving the car. Where do you stand? By the end of this, you might change your mind. The entire debate orbits a biological event you've never been taught to notice. It's called the Cortisol Awakening Response, or CAR. For the first 30 to 90 minutes after you wake up, your body floods your system with cortisol. This gets a bad reputation as the stress hormone, but in the morning, it's something else entirely. It's your body's own natural rocket fuel. It's what shakes off sleep inertia, raises your body temperature, and brings your brain online for the day. It's a powerful, clean, and perfectly timed surge of alertness and focus. It is a gift. And every single morning, millions of people stumble to the kitchen and blunt this peak with a shot of caffeine. When you drink coffee, while your cortisol is already at its highest, you're essentially telling your body you don't need its natural wake-up call. Over time, your system learns. It produces less cortisol in the morning because it expects the caffeine crutch. You also develop a faster tolerance to caffeine, meaning you need more of it sooner, just to feel normal. You're pouring expensive fuel into a tank that's already overflowing. This brings us to the protocol preached by neuroscientists and adopted by tech executives, elite athletes, and anyone obsessed with cognitive output. The rules are simple. Upon waking, you delay your first cup of coffee for at least 90 minutes, ideally 2 hours. What do you do instead? You get direct sunlight into your eyes for 10 to 30 minutes. This one act is the primary signal that sets the timer on your entire 24-hour hormonal clock. You hydrate with water and electrolytes. You might do some light physical activity. You let your body's natural cortisol peak do its job, uninhibited. Then, once that natural wave has crested and begins to fall, you introduce caffeine. The effect is profound. The coffee hits a system that is now receptive, providing a second distinct lift. The energy is cleaner. The afternoon crash is diminished or disappears entirely. It sounds convincing. But there's a problem. This perfectly optimized morning creates a perfectly fragile human. Life is messy. What happens when you have a newborn and your sleep is shattered? What happens when you're traveling across time zones, staying in a hotel room with a window that faces a brick wall? What happens on a dark, rainy winter morning when there is no sunlight to be found? The rigid routine, designed to give you control, suddenly becomes a new source of anxiety. Missing your sunlight window or drinking coffee too early feels like a failure. The day feels compromised before it's even 9 in the morning. Critics argue this entire movement is a form of performance-enhancing neuroticism. It's an obsession with the dashboard instead of the road. The goal shifts from doing meaningful work to perfecting the biological machine that does the work. It's a subtle form of orthorexia, an unhealthy obsession with correct living applied to your hormones. The mental overhead is immense. You are constantly monitoring, timing, and judging your own internal state. Is the 10% gain in afternoon alertness really worth the mental cost of living inside a spreadsheet of your own biology? For many, the answer is a clear no. Just drink the coffee, get on with your day. Stop overthinking a simple pleasure. And yet, the other side has its own blind spot. The argument for just living your life and ignoring these biological clocks makes a huge assumption. It assumes the default modern lifestyle is benign. It's not. The just drink your coffee approach is often paired with scrolling on a bright phone screen until midnight, eating a sugary breakfast, and working under harsh fluorescent lights all day. This isn't freedom. It's a series of repeated biological insults that guarantees a dysregulated system. The person who ignores their morning cortisol window is often the same person mainlining caffeine at 3 in the afternoon, complaining of burnout and wondering why they can never get a good night's sleep. The obsession with the morning cortisol window isn't just about chasing a performance high. For many, it's about avoiding a long, slow crash. It's a preventative strategy. They see their colleagues burning out, suffering from metabolic issues, chronic fatigue and depression by middle age. They look at the data on chronically elevated cortisol from a misaligned lifestyle, the connection to insulin resistance, weight gain, a weakened immune system, and they make a calculated decision. This isn't about winning today. It's about being able to compete for the next 30 years. It's a long game. They are investing in their future hormonal capital. From this perspective, the critics who dismiss it as neurotic are like people in the 1960s mocking someone for jogging. They just don't see the cliff they're running toward. This frames the debate as control versus resilience, and that might be the most useful lens. The optimizer is trying to build a perfectly controlled internal environment. Their body is a finely tuned race car. When all conditions are perfect, nothing can catch it. The critic argues for building a different kind of machine, an all-terrain vehicle. It might not be the fastest on the track, but it can handle mud, rocks, and bad weather. It can run on whatever fuel is available. It is resilient to a chaotic world, which is the superior survival strategy. A system that performs at 110% under perfect conditions, but shatters at the first disruption. Or a system that reliably performs at 85% under any conditions. The truth, as usual, is more complicated than either side admits. The body is an adaptive system, consistently giving it the right signals, morning sun, timed meals, intelligent caffeine use, does something interesting. It doesn't necessarily make the system more fragile. A strong, well-regulated circadian rhythm can actually make you more resilient to occasional disruptions. It creates a stronger baseline, a homeostatic anchor your body can quickly return to after a night of bad sleep or a day of chaotic travel. Your all-terrain vehicle gets better gas mileage and a stronger frame. The real point of failure is psychological. The obsession itself can become the source of fragility. If your mind believes that a deviation from the protocol spells disaster, then it will. The stress you create by judging yourself for drinking coffee at the wrong time might be more damaging than the coffee itself. Imagine a person who follows the protocol perfectly. They get their morning sun, delay their coffee, and feel incredible. Their focus is sharp, their energy stable. Now imagine they have an early flight. They wake at 4 in the morning, in darkness. They have a critical meeting as soon as they land. They drink a cup of coffee in the airport lounge, just to function. For the optimizer whose identity is tied to the routine, this feels like a catastrophe. They feel sluggish, anxious, and off-kilter, attributing it all to their broken protocol. For the resilient individual, it's just coffee. They drink it, they feel more awake, and they handle their meeting. Same action, different story, different outcome. The hormone is only one part of the equation. The story you tell yourself about the hormone is the other. So the debate is not truly about biology. The science of the Cortisol Awakening Response is solid. The debate is about your relationship with your own body. Is it a machine to be optimized, a tool to be sharpened, and a system to be controlled? Or is it an animal to be understood, a partner to be negotiated with, and a dynamic system to be guided? The optimizer sees the body as hardware running on hormonal software. Get the code right, and the output is guaranteed. The critic sees the body as a wild garden. You can tend to it, you can provide it with sun and water, but you cannot command the flowers to bloom on a precise schedule. You have influence, not control. Pushing for absolute control is the fastest way to ruin the garden. So what do you think? Where do you draw the line between healthy discipline and a destructive obsession? Is your morning routine a strategic tool for a long and productive life? Or is it a golden cage built from good intentions? The sun is coming up. The clock is ticking. What do you do next?